Welcome back to the Sermon of Bacchus. There's an old saying that goes, first, do no harm. It's become a cliche, but it's meant to give you a heuristic of how to approach life as a doctor or as a medical person. But it also can apply to you as a citizen of the United States of America or any country that you happen to be listening in, although other countries may have more ridiculous penalties for these laws that I'm about to talk about. The genocide laws. Genocide. Because genocide is not just killing people and spilling blood. If you take a person's time away, and if you even take more specifically the young years of their life, the fertile years where they're going to have babies and families and careers, if you take that time away and then you put them back on earth having stolen that time away 20 or 30 years later, or even 5 years later, you've stolen blood from that person. You have spilled blood, as if you had killed them or attempted to murder them. Taking someone's time is like taking their blood and throwing it on the street. And that is what United States government has been doing to drug users for the last 70 years. It has been the most elaborate, most stealth genocide in history. You do 4 or 5 of these illegal drugs. You don't like the thousands of legal drugs that the corporations are making profits from and that the government is getting kickbacks and tax income. You're allowing for your government and your people to cage or kill. And if the person won't get in the cage, the drug user, then you kill them. So if they do get in the cage, then you steal their time. Between 5 and 30 years, you can take unbelievable amounts of time. Many of them will die in prison. Many of them will kill themselves. Many of them will be killed. This is all part of the beautiful, elaborate genocide plan of the Christians. Because the Christians have not just begun to be wicked and vengeful. They did this in the Crusades hundreds of years ago. Forced conversions. You will convert or you will die. Same thing here. You will convert to our beliefs about which drugs are okay, or you will die, or you will lose your time. We will destroy your position in society. We'll destroy your life. We will take you from your family. When the Nazis took gypsies away from their camps and put them on trains, they separated them from their families. They never heard from their families again. They would go off and be in concentration camps, locked in cages, surrounded by barbed wire with armed guards who will shoot them to death if they want to get away from that camp, from that prison, from that cage. We are doing this right now in this place, the United States of America, and we have been for a long time. So long that we're all okay with it. We're just acting like, oh, look, that's another concentration camp. There's another I call them cannabis concentration camps, CCCs. But they're also there for cocaine, heroin, LSD, not so many mushrooms. It's harder for them to find those, but they'll get you if they can. Obviously, the cannabis. There are probably a few other drugs that are those are pretty much the main drugs. I'm sure there's a few others that I'm ignoring, but everyone knows the party drugs. They call it Special K maybe, although now they're using that for therapy. They're using ketamine. But let's not get on about the progress we're making. Let's talk about the disaster that we're not controlling these people. We're not shaming them. We're not caging them. What did we do when we got into those concentration camps of World War II? Well, we didn't do this, but our troops killed. They didn't even bother capturing these Nazi guards. They just gunned them down. And they were given They were given leeway on this by the criminal world courts after the war by saying we couldn't expect them to do less, given the fact that they came upon this camp of death and torture and nightmarish human corpses everywhere and skeletons walking around. And they said, holy God, we have to kill whoever did this. They just killed them. I'm not asking you to kill the concentration camp guards. I'm asking you to shame them. I'm asking you to cage them. If you, personally, you would want someone if let's say someone visits your home for a dinner and you found out this guy just did coke in the bathroom, well, in my house, in my dinner party, how dare him? Would you, if you had a cage and you could legally do it, would you cage that person, lock him in a cage in your house and keep him there for a few years? Because that is exactly what you are okay with when you allow someone else to do it on your behalf. Don't act like it's not your fault. It is your fault. Do no harm first. Do no harm. And that means don't cage people, don't genocide them, don't take part in eugenics for drugs of a certain kind, for drug users of a certain kind. Because you don't cage and kill the OxyContin user, the Tylenol user, the NyQuil user, the Percocet. There's a million legal drugs that everyone does, and you don't want them in cages. You don't want them having their best years of their life stolen. You don't want them having the years where they could have children taken away from them. You want that from the bad people. And who are the bad people? The ones that the Christians say are bad people. And the Christians, like the governor of Florida, or many other Christians in this country, have all decided and declared together, we stand united to genocide the drug users of America and the world if they come here and do those drugs. Well, it's time for us to stop the harm. It's unacceptable to do this to any class of people, but especially a class of people that you allow to run free and to do as many drugs as they want, just as long as it's a drug approved by the Christians. All I want for this country is to legalize the other 5 drugs that you've left out of the party. The fun drugs, the safe drugs. Let everyone compete. Let everyone sell them. Let everybody take their product and have it tested by a government agency. The government agency says, this Coke is pure. This weed is pure. This whatever it is that used to be illegal is now legal, and it is pure and good. Now, the government can step in if it's impure, if the drug that you're trying to sell is not pure. They can step in if you're not paying your taxes. Ooh, taxes, that's a different thing. I'm okay with the government doing that stuff, but I don't want the genocide. I don't want Americans to genocide drug users or anybody, but especially drug users, because that's what we're doing right now. Do you understand? You have to shame these people. When you're encountering in public life or in private life anybody who's in favor of eugenics through drug enforcement, if you encounter a drug DEA agent, if you encounter a judge who puts people in cages for, you get it. Every type of person who you might encounter, shame them. Say, you're supporting genocide. You are a genocidal person. Just say it directly to them. Shame them, because shame is the only weapon you have. What else are you going to do? Here's what else we're going to do. We're going to come up with laws. When I say we, I mean the people who actually can make that stuff happen. The people in the spokes and wheels of government. I want you guys and you gals and you people to come up with laws that will cage people who dare genocide anybody for drugs. If you support or enforce the drug laws, you should be in a cage. That should be the law of the land, and that is what I'm proposing. They say, the smart people say, that knowledge or lack of knowledge is what allows for evil. that the Nazis of the past, the one of the Nazis, the German ones, not the, everyone gets called a Nazi these days, but specifically the World War II Nazis, apparently the whole society rallied around Hitler and all of these methods because of a lack of knowledge, either because they didn't know about the genocide or because they didn't understand why it was so bad. You must understand. You must give yourself the knowledge necessary to no longer be evil, because you are evil right now and you just don't know it. Now you have the knowledge of your horrific evil that you are perpetuating on innocent, happy, normal people. Let's not get into whole non-violent versus violent drug offenders. How many drug offenses would be violent if they could just call customer service? Yes, hello? Yes, my cannabis is contaminated with fentanyl. Can I speak to a manager, please? That would resolve all the violent drug offenses. The reason it gets violent is because of the genocide. Do not start using their language. Oh, only non-violent drug offenders should be released from jail. No, everybody. Let's let the cartels play in the game. Let's let them in. Let's say, look, you're already doing everything. Let's just regulate you guys. I want to test the purity of your drugs. You can compete with Pfizer and Merck and all of our drug companies, because a cartel is just a violent drug company. And Pfizer and Merck, they're just non-violent drug companies. What's the difference? One day we'll have cartels making vaccines because they're officially on the government tax payroll. And so we'll be able to include the cartels instead of fighting them and wasting our lives and wasting everybody's time and perpetuating the endless genocide of drug users. Get upset. Get focused. You don't have to go and change the laws. You have to shame the people in your life. You have to shame everyone on social media who would dare genocide your fellow brothers and sisters. So let's try to spread the word. The CCCs, cannabis concentration camps. We need to enlighten our fellow citizens about this situation, and it will resolve almost all of our prison problems in this country right away if we do this. And when you do that, you will be blessed by Bacchus. And I thank you for joining the sermon, and I'll see you next time.